Can anybody be a sports commentator?
Great introduction.
Thank you. Credit goes to Dan, our executive producer, for that one. Thank you very much. So this clip will be basically centered around Lisa Ann, a retired porn star. You already call her just a porn star. Can't label her like that, Francis.
Well, she's retired, but Pornhub are not retiring her name.
That's true.
And how would you know that?
He's a encyclopedia of.
I mean, I searched her name just to find out to research the clip, Jason, and of course that's
it's still there.
So I can only take what I seen on the internet.
So so Lisa Ann has become, according to the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports World, a fantasy sports guru, specifically fantasy football. She has a show, Lisa After Dark, on Mondays, which is, I think it runs 11 to midnight, where she goes over her fantasy football team. She's a part of 10 different leagues. But let's save that all for after, because we have a little video piece from Fox Sports ran for us.
D.Y. Hilton's got me 0 points tonight.
For me, you're fighting the curve of my past career. Also that I'm a girl. You know, unless people know me, they wouldn't think I know so much about sports, but my friends know that I know about sports.
Ann is one of 40 million people participating in a fantasy football league this season, and is currently playing in 10 separate leagues, last year winning SiriusXM's championship. Since 2013, she has hosted a popular radio show that breaks down the week in fantasy.
Was worried it was just going to get into his head.
Oh, that's true.
That's what you worry about with a rookie. Are you going to recover this game? Is this going to psych you out?
Well, I just didn't know what to expect. You know, I didn't know how much she knew. And knowing fantasy football and knowing the game of football is totally different. So I think there was a learning period for her where there was an adjustment, but she put in the work.
I love what I'm learning, and being in an industry for years where I had no reason to learn anything new, my brain was definitely a lot more stagnant than I realized. I taught myself the ropes of fantasy sports by putting in between 6 to 8 hours a day of reading, learning the scoring systems, what type of league you're going to be in, PPR, IDP, standard, all of the different things that I need to learn just took hours. And I have Brady in the celebrity hosting. You know what? That's going to make a difference for me. He could win the league for me.
He could.
Fantasy is kind of taking over my life. There's some backlash, Adam. My personal life has backlash.
Your dating life?
Saturday night is spent tinkering with lineups, reading injury reports, reaching out to players, check the weather. I also look at the team's travel schedules. That's about 4 or 5 hours. And then I'll wake up again on Sunday morning and put another 4 hours into it.
Well, plus, you know, every fantasy player I picked, I decided I was going to go and learn more about them. I wrote out some cue cards. I just wanted to have some background on everybody.
You can see from the video,
She takes it pretty seriously.
she does her homework.
She does her homework. 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday. She wakes up. She checks the weather.
You got to know, rainy day, could have some
The
slippage
turf
on
can
the
be
ball.
different. I mean, certain guys, they play better in the rain and in the cold. Gotta check that stuff out.
You played sports. You understand the difference between
Yes.
when it's raining, and you actually said you like playing in the
Oh
rain.
my God, I love playing in the rain. If you never, you see a good slide tackle in the rain, you can slide from like 10 or 15 yards away. Still get there.
Studs out.
Slide tackle.
No cards.
Best thing ever.
Clean tackle.
What football we're talking about here.
So the thing is with this, it's like, you know, everyone's making commentary of, can a porn star, you know, give us fantasy football news? And I was making, you know, we were talking before, guys, before we started filming, and, you know, what? Just because somebody is in the adult porn industry doesn't mean that they also can't like sports. I like more than one thing. I think that, you know, and I think that most guys like sports and sex. So I think that, you know, her liking both works out.
But also, like that is completely fine, and that is exactly why I can't say that that's not why she's employed. That is why she's been employed by these radio stations and by these new mainstream, I would say, sites that are trying to explore both of those. Because let's face it, right? It's a male-orientated industry, sports.
She has the audience.
She has the audience built in, because most of those guys that are watching it are going to watch that, and they're also probably have just watched her previously in her previous industry, and that's just the reality of the world. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but that is the reality, and that's what Sirius FM and Fox Sports or whoever else is going to continue to pursue this field is counting on, is that men will watch it, because most men are driven by two things, sex and sports.
There you go.
And that is why they're combining those two, and that is completely fine.
Lisa Ann, the double whammy.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to discredit. I don't want to. If anyone is to be discredited for venturing into this, it's not the person who's involved, because Lisa Ann has every right to love sports and to love what she has done in her past and in the future if she decides to go back into that field. I know she's retired. If she wants to consider going back into it, I don't think anyone can discredit that. But it's not her issue. She wants to be involved in these two things. But if there is an issue to be made about it, it's those that are employing these people. This is why we see on Instagram, Jason, your favorite Instagram
Cleats
account.
and Cleavage.
Cleats and Cleavage.
Eva Fiore.
Where
Where do you think I get most of my sports news updates from?
Eva Fiore, who now has her own
She has
Fox
all
Sports.
great factoids.
Yes.
She does. She tells me the score of the game, sometimes the injury report, sometimes
And she proves
what the weather's going to
All
be.
while shaking your tatas
Yeah,
at you.
and that's the thing.
That's
talent.
totally separate from the fact that the news is important.
And do you know what your excuse is? If for instance, you're watching Eva Fiore
I don't need an
and your
excuse.
girlfriend walks by maybe and says, "What are you doing there?" Well, I'm proving
Watching
I can
sports.
do two things at once. I can look
Wow.
at her tatas whilst listening to the sports
If that's your argument for that men can multitask, you got to still keep working on it, my friend.
You know, I
That is
can't.
a
Well,
clear
and that's,
example of
so by the way,
multitasking.
and I can't multitask, so there
Yes.
would only be one or the other. That's why I have to watch it twice.
Yes,
Just
exactly.
on the way here, I was like looking at my phone, reading a story, driving, putting on some lipstick, listening, changing the car channel. I mean, that's multitasking.
So
my
you are
friend.
the
I'm
reason
never
why
getting
you're the
into
reason
your
why I
I'm
hate
the
driving in LA. I beat the horn because you cross over. Yeah, hold on a sec. I'm on the phone. whilst
I'm
doing my
busy
lipstick.
here. I'm reading the stories for TYT Sports. Jesus, people.
So I believe that Eva Fiore, who now is employed by Fox Sports Radio, she has her own radio, and I think we first noticed her at around 20 or 30,000 Instagram followers. She has the recipe, and she has mastered it, and all credit to her for doing that.
Thank you. Yes.
All credit to her for doing it.
I think the question is now, it's just simply, just with anyone that you watch as a commentator, is do you like this person's personality or not? Do you like the way that they are conveying the information to you? And if the answer is yes, then, you know, you watch it. And I think that with Lisa, it's just a matter of, I haven't watched enough of her episodes after dark to know if I like getting, you know, fantasy news from her or not, but I think that's really what it comes down to, because it seems like she's an actual avid sports fan. So,
But it just, as I'm saying, I think that is a good thing to touch on, is that you can now like dissect whether she does know her stuff, and you can credit her for that.
Absolutely.
But 99% of the audience is just going to envision when she's talking over radio that same voice they heard in the movie they just watched 20 minutes ago and think, this is everything I've ever asked for. This is a girl that I watched on porn who then talks about sports after. That's why.
I think going back to the main question though of like, can anybody become a sports commentator? Absolutely yes.
Nope.
No.
100% yes.
No, it's like what I was just saying. It's not just about knowing the sports. It's about being able to convey.
Look, in
the message to
Lisa
people.
Ann's case, she had a huge advantage, obviously, because she was a known film star before, adult film star before that. In Eva Fiore's advantage, she obviously built a following by herself, in part because she's shaking her tatas, as you both very
Tatas is
maturely,
such a nice word
very
to say,
maturely
Frank. You
put
don't
it.
want to be like, go
I mean,
on
I'm
Instagram.
trying to be PC about it.
Yeah.
But for example, and there's two that come to my mind immediately, Bill Simmons and Max Kellerman, who are terrible athletes, have admitted to that most of the time, became great sports writers and then built a massive following, and now you see them everywhere. Those are two guys who do not have huge tits that can shake on TV. They had to do it by learning the sport, understanding the sport, analyzing the sport, and they did it, so can anybody else.
No, but that's what's proving my point, actually, is that like it can't just be everyone. Otherwise, every single athlete that's ever been in the NFL or in, like a pro sport before would go and be a commentator.
Right, and it doesn't always work
But
out.
they
There's some
can't
awkward
because,
ones.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. You know, it takes there's a way to be able to communicate with your other co-hosts. There's a way to be able to
Absolutely.
communicate with the audience that you're talking to. And I think that not every athlete has it.
I think anybody can do it. It's just not everybody has the ability to do it.
But those two examples that you just mentioned, they're like, I guarantee their rise to fame was not as easy as building an Instagram
but that
following.
wasn't the
I
question.
think that
It's not that. Is it easy to become a sports commentator?
No.
Hell no.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't think everyone can be, because it does take that grind to get to that level. I think when you're talking about Bill Simmons, like I think he did a great autobiography. I want to read it because that guy is obviously putting a lot of words behind the scenes from a journalistic perspective. Whereas what I'm saying is that now we have this new recipe. And for instance, I hate to just be as brutal as this, but if you are a woman who loves sports, all credit to you. I think it's easier for them to make it into a sports industry if you're coming from no background than it is for a man to do it, because that recipe is there. That recipe is there for women to do that.
It is and it isn't. I mean, like, yes, it's in the sense that, like, if you really do know your stuff and you have that opportunity, like, yes, you could maybe rise faster, but I think that getting those opportunities are fewer and farther between, because a lot of times, this is why we're having this conversation right now. It's not just because she's a porn star, it's also because she's female. So she kind of has to prove herself even more so, because we already... Like, if this was a guy, would we even be having the conversation of if he's qualified or not? We'd be like, yeah, of course he knows sports. He's a dude.
If he was shaking
I'm not talking about. I don't think.
then I think we probably would be having this conversation.
I think I may be maybe reiterating the fact that if it's a woman who has, I would say it's easy for a woman who is known for her appearance more so than her mind to get into this field than it is for. I'm not talking about anyone who's just starting to come into it, because it's difficult for everyone. I think women face more obstacles than men and are objectified more so than anyone else, and that is an unfortunate problem in our society. But say, for instance, Lisa, and say, for instance, Kate Upton wanted to start to talking about sports, even though she might not know sports right now.
Of course.
You're telling me she can't get a job quicker than any other guy in the industry who's looking to do that?
I think that she actually has some legitimate chops behind it. If she doesn't know her stuff, and if she can't actually present that, then no, I don't think that she's.
Well, what happens if she's like, we don't know enough about cleats and cleavage to know that she has an in-depth knowledge about it. From watching her stuff, she delivers news. So I'm talking about if Kate Upton practices, that she might not know sports, but if she practices on how to deliver news, maybe in wearing an attire that more men will find appealing, she will grow faster.
But the difference is what you're talking about is having a full-on show where you're a host, or having an Instagram following where you do a 5-second clip. It's a very big difference to be able to, like, what did you say that you learned from her? The score of the game? Wow, that took some serious insight. I mean, man, shaking your boobs and telling people, like, the score was blankety blank.
Sometimes we get, like, a fact of the day.
Yeah. It's easier for a woman, I believe, that has an advantage, like Eva Fiore has, who's utilising it well, because that's just the way this industry works today, to grow faster and to grow into those positions. And that is something that I'm just highlighting, is that it's more, this crossover between culture and sports is so obvious now that's why Lisa
She came up with a gimmick, and really that's what it's all about.
And
it's
that
a gimmick
led to an advantage.
I think a guy could have the same, if he came up with a creative way to present it. Obviously, it's not going to be shaking his tatas with like the sparkly little X's and the bikinis like she did. But I think that it's just about a gimmick. So if one of you guys came up with your own gimmick, I think that you could make it happen too.
Francis, you look great in glitter.
Do we think so? What about Bahama?
Tommy Bahama.
Banana hammock. Banana hammock.
Banana hammock.
Between the two of you can't get any words out. Should I decipher? I'm going to decipher what you're saying.
Would you like to transition into
We've got a
emojis
girl
for
on
us?
this panel now. We're so
Yes,
much
I do.
more nervous.
I would love to transition into emojis for us.
Take it
So
for us.
now, apparently, talk about how we're getting sports out there to people these days. Not entire, but a short sports segment told solely by emojis. I was so confused. There were so many emojis going on, I couldn't even listen to what the girl was saying. And we were talking about it earlier, but I think that they could have used some better emojis for some of it. I was questioning
we have
their
the
choice.
video, because there were some very questionable emoji choices. Let's take a look at the video.
I'm Serena Morales of SportsCenter, and here are your NFL highlights in emojis. On Thursday, Gronk did his job for the Patriots and scored 3 touchdowns in a win. Come Sunday, it was the tale of the top 2 draft picks, with Marcus Mariota and famous Jameis set the center of attention. Number 2 in the draft was number 1 on the field, while throwing 4 touchdowns in the first half. Meanwhile, Jameis threw 2 interceptions, and one was a pick 6 on the first throw of his NFL career. Speaking of college stars, Johnny Football took over the Browns and started out hot with a long touchdown. After that, he stunk it up. The Rams beat the Seahawks in overtime, and we learned...
Okay, every time I watch this, I write down which ones make...
No sense?
Well, if they do make sense at all, it's out of context. Okay, the crown, didn't get it. Beer for Gronk, I get that Gronkowski is like a party animal, but if you've never watched football before, it's like, oh, beer, football, 6 picture, camera, palm tree. What just happened?
I got the Bible for Sunday, though. I think it was a Bible.
I got that one.
That was a
that
good
one.
one.
I got.
The pick 6, the
touchdowns,
camera?
got that.
Yeah. What this speaks to me is like, you're a really old uncle who's trying to be hip again. And like he'll try and send you like he'll be like, oh, look at my new iPad, I'm playing with this new game. Like that's what it speaks to me, is that like SportsCenter and ESPN are already behind. They're behind the scene. They're behind, like everyone else is moving forward a lot quicker than them. They're losing their most, I would say, personable hosts, and they're trying their best. Lost, and they're trying their best to catch up on everyone. And what way to do that? Oh, some guys come in and went, here, guys, the kids these days, they're using emojis.
Check these out.
Check it out.
There's a poop one.
This new show.
We got to get that one in
is
there.
all on emojis. And everyone, and like it just never hit home once. And I feel bad for the poor girl that had to deliver that, because she's going to be associated with that segment.
That forever.
And that was just, it was just a catastrophe.
People don't forget.
I mean, the problem is when you're hearing about something that's very visual like that, you want to see what's going on. You don't want to see a palm tree and then a little Bible picture. You want to see what's actually happening, the clip or a photo of it or something like that to kind of go along with it. So I feel like it detracted from the stories.
The most important question of this clip, and we've asked many hosts and personalities around TYT. Lauren, what is your favorite emoji?
Oh, God, rough. You know what? It's not even a question. I know this one. The pound, the punch pound sign.
Fist, nice. Very
Just,
nice.
you know, I'll like type boom, exclamation point.
Oh, you're
follow
a
it with
boomer?
yeah, I'm like, boom.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I do.
When you play sports, do you say boom after you do something good?
I mean, I might. I'm not going to admit it now. Here's the other thing that we were talking about before we started, talking to you guys out there is that with this clip, we were thinking maybe the producers were thinking, okay, we're going to we're going to talk about some sports and that's going to be for the guys. But then for the girls who are really into social media, we're going to associate it with emojis. But I don't know any girl that's at a sporting event, if they're not into sports, that's actually watching the game. They're drinking, they're having snacks, they're chit-chatting about whatever. They're definitely taking selfies. They're like, oh, I'm watching the sporting event, but they didn't actually watch it. They're just there in the vicinity.
In emojis, that would be beer, maybe hands up, crown, camera.
Right, exactly.
We have to make sure they understand.
Right, yeah. We'll translate for you guys in emojis from now on, my bad. But yeah, I just feel like that was a fail on their part because, which I don't know what audience that was for. Because if you're going to ESPN, you really want to see sports. You're not there to see emojis.
And you're there, especially in a delivery like that, you're there to see clips.
Absolutely.
Highlights. I've always said this. There is the best way to watch SportsCenter is one particular way.
SportsCenter's top 10.
Watch it on mute, so you can just watch highlights.
Yeah,
so when you see emojis popping up on your screen, you're like,
you have
to turn the sound on because you're like,
what's
going on?
I want to study to see how many TVs were broken after that. Some guys are just so pissed. I want to see the highlights.
All right, so a lot of discussion in this clip, but you can follow Francis at Francis_Maxwell.
Follow me at LC Mayhew on Twitter.
Nice. And at JasonRubin91. What do you guys and girls out there think of the emojis on ESPN and the audience they're trying to reach? Lisa and Fox Sports. Can anybody be a sports commentator? There's a lot to talk about in the comment section. Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe, like, favorite, everything.
Or just tell us the score and jiggle your tatas. Whatevs.
Please do.